Are you scratching your head as reviewers talk about milliamp hours on batteries and f-stop on lenses and lose their shit on 500 versus 1000 nits of brightness when you have no idea what the difference is? Well, it's not just you, and yes, it's totally normal to feel that way. Whilst these stats matter, what matters more is what they mean for you. My name is Akshay Goenka, and today I have the Apple Watch Ultra, and I'm going to tell you in simple English what you need to know if you're thinking about getting one. First, the quick headline. The Apple Watch Ultra is Apple's top-of-the-line smartwatch and sits at 849 pounds in the UK, which is more than double the next closest option, the Series 8, and almost 4 times the Apple Watch SE, which is also an extremely capable watch. The reason for this is essentially 3 things. First, it has a massive battery that can last up to 3 days or even up to a week on low power mode without needing a charge. 2, it's more premium and rugged build, and it's very resistant to the elements and very hard to scratch or break. Third, it has pro features like a dive computer and 100 meters water resistance for diving, a siren and satellite connectivity for extreme hiking, and so on. So if you're a pro swimmer, diver, hiker, or marathon runner and have other Apple gadgets that will work well with this, then this becomes a very different discussion where we have to evaluate the Ultra's capabilities versus other pro wearables like a dive computer. But this video is not for pro users, so if you're an everyday user just like me, who just wants a nice looking smartwatch that tracks fitness and health and lets you change music when you're running and check your email and messages and stuff, then are these 3 reasons good enough to buy the Ultra? Well, many reviewers out there will say that the Series 8, which is less than half the price, is perfectly capable of doing these things and could be the right answer for you. So is the Apple Watch Ultra not worth it? On the contrary, I think it totally is worth it. But stop trying to convince yourself that it's because of all of these features. Try to think of it not as a utility product where you compare only features, but instead as a fashion tech product. Remember that time before smartwatches when literally every single watch would do the same one thing? Tell us the time. Did you go out and buy the cheapest watch? No, because you bought the one that you liked the look of and that had a brand that you associate with and brought personality and character to your look. And that's why we would pay hundreds, even thousands of dollars at times to buy a watch that we like, even though it just stole the time. And now I think you know how to decide how to buy the Apple Watch Ultra for non-pro users versus any of the others. First, see if you disagree, but I think it looks way nicer than the Series 8. And most of the internet agrees. Number 2, if you do, you'll also get the added benefit of more than a day of battery life. And finally, number 3, while the upfront price might be $400 or pounds more, it'll probably last 1 or 2 years more than other Apple Watches due to its almost impossible to scratch or break build quality and the fact that its battery will remain at peak capacity for longer since you charge it fewer times. That's it. Those are the important things to know. But I'm glad we got it out of the way so that I can tell you about the 5 key features to get excited about rather than have you calculate if those features justify spending 400 pounds more. First, let's talk about looks, and man, it's got a few good ones. It's universally sexy looks that feel at home in everything from a Bond movie to a couture catwalk to a triathlon. It's got a beautiful titanium case that has a lovely matte brushed color, which Apple calls silver, but I definitely think there's some gray in there at just the right proportions. Unlike the other Apple Watches, this doesn't come with color options, which is a shame, but I love the color, so it's not an issue for me, but you might miss the matte black and silver options that come with the others. Sitting on top is a scratch-proof sapphire crystal screen that's bigger with a 49 centimeter dial versus the 45 or 41 options on the Series 8. While size is a personal choice, and you should try out to see if you like it, I will say this: if you're thinking it looks too big, it's not as big as you think. Here's how it looks on wrists of different sizes. And like with anything new, you'll need to give your eyes a minute or maybe even a day to get used to, but once you do, there's no going back. Finally, the larger screen makes it possible to actually type on this thing. And I have slightly thicker fingers, so my earlier Apple Watches worked fine, but the screens were never big enough to properly type a reply to a text or an email. But with this thing, I can actually leave my phone behind when I go out for a run or a hike and not miss it at all. Also, while it weighs more on paper, about 10 grams more than the heaviest Series 8, you can barely feel the difference on your wrists. and you get used to it before you can even say the word Ultra. There's a new action button on the left which you can configure to open a few selected Apple-only features like workout and stopwatch and waypoint and backtrack, steps and dive and torch. Frankly, for a non-pro user, the waypoint, backtrack and dive features aren't very useful, and I don't use the torch often enough to want it on my watch. The only useful one is workout. But honestly, I wish Apple would just let me configure some of the third-party apps I actually use regularly like Fitbit or Spotify, which would be very useful to control with one physical click. Hopefully in a future software upgrade though. But for now, the orange color on the button, which matches the distinctive orange ring on the crown, gives the Apple Watch Ultra its unique identity. A slick and suave but slightly sporty look that adds an amazing bit of personality to your look. The exclusive Wayfinder watch face, which only exists on the Apple Watch Ultra, is glorious and reminds one of the classic watch face that would be featured on premium watch brands in the prehistoric dinosaur-like times where the only thing that the watch told you was the time. And when configured right, it blends into the black-grey teal look with the minimalism and elegance worthy of my latest tailored suit or a summer linen look. Scrolling on the digital crown enables this beautiful red night mode as well to make sure you can see even in a movie theater. Second, the battery life. Apple rates it up to 36 hours or 3 days and up to 60 hours on low power mode or a 5-day work week. In my practical use, I've consistently seen the battery go down to just about 60 to 70% on night 1 before I sleep, and then 20 to 30% on night 2 before I go to bed. I can push it through a 3rd day by activating low power mode, but it has too many restrictions on features to make it a really good experience. So I typically end up charging it on night 2 at the bare minimum. To be honest, in my opinion, this isn't all that game-changing for everyday city life where you go to bed and you can charge right before if you track your sleep, or charge overnight like me if you don't like wearing a watch to bed. But it does help in not having to worry that you'll run out of charge within a day, and especially on an overnight trip or a hike where you may not have access to a charger, it works like a beauty. That comfort of knowing that you can use it as heavy as you like on an overnight camping trip or a 2-night business trip is phenomenal. If it goes below 20%, the low power mode really knows how to stretch the battery, and it's got me through an entire day so that I don't lose fitness tracking and Apple Pay on my phone before I come back home to a charger. But the real value of this feature will be in the life that this watch will give you. Batteries are rated for charging cycles. The total capacity of a battery reduces over time as you charge it more and more, and that's why battery life gets worse over time in any device. Apple Watches are rated to retain 80% of their capacity up to 1,000 charging cycles. But given that you charge the Ultra every 2 days versus the Series 8 and the SE that you charge every day, you should theoretically get twice the battery life and twice the life of the watch. And hence, in a way, the Apple Watch Ultra doesn't cost double if you think about it as cost of ownership per year. The Series 8 might cost $450 or £450 and give you maybe 3 years at about £150 a year. But the Ultra might cost $800, but it'll give you double the time to come out of the same $150 or pounds a year. So in reality, it's not that much more expensive. Third, Pro features. There are essentially 3 use cases that this was designed for pro users: diving, hiking, and running. For diving, it comes with this beautiful blue dive band accessory, which I actually love to use on a daily basis, and a companion app that you have to download separately called the Oceanic Plus Dive Computer, which has all kinds of detailed features to map your dive. For hiking, Apple designed these 3 bands in green, orange, and starlight, and has a few neat features built in. A couple of interesting ones include a pretty loud siren that can help you send out a help cry if you're lost or injured on a hike or an adventure. It can be activated simply by long pressing the action button. Another one is a backtrack feature that helps you trace back your steps even without any network to look at a map if you're lost on a hike. And finally, there's a satellite connectivity feature that lets you send an SOS message even if you have no network, simply by connecting to a satellite. Unless you're a pro user, it's unlikely that you'll ever use these features regularly outside of demoing them to your friends when you just get the watch, or once in a while, maybe when you go on an assisted dive on a vacation once a year. That said, as someone who goes on long hikes pretty regularly, I do find the backtrack feature quite useful. As long as you remember to switch it on. It's sad that the once in a blue moon situation when you actually need it, it's possible that you'll open the app and it'll tell you that it hasn't tracked anything at all because you haven't enabled precise location settings, and you will loll your way to the old-fashioned cry for help. Similarly, my friend who's training for a marathon found the segment tracking and other details quite useful, but neither of these features are important enough for you to spend 400 pounds or $400 extra unless you're a serious pro user who goes on marathons or hikes or dives regularly. They're eventually just nice to have features. Last, the pricing. As I mentioned earlier, the Apple Watch Ultra retails for a mind-bending, wallet-burning £849 with a single color option and LTE connectivity built in. There's no Wi-Fi only option like other Apple Watches. You're also forced into buying a band, which is a bit annoying. I'd rather have the option rather than be compelled. But on the plus side, the bands are actually quite good. And I personally have a soft spot for the Blue Ocean band, which has a beautiful tealy blue color that complements the grayish silver watch body in a classy and elegant way, and is my go-to band for everyday use. The only annoying part is if you shower or swim with it, it retains a bit of water which will irritate your skin over time, which is quite a shocker given this is specifically designed by experts to be a diving band. But nonetheless, it's nothing that a quick remove and shake and dry for 5 seconds doesn't fix. Apart from this, there's a ton of small features in this Apple Watch that I won't go into detail, but I'll just put up on the screen here. Do leave me a comment if you'd like me to cover any of these in details. So once again, should you buy the Apple Watch Ultra? My answer remains a big yes. As long as you can afford it, and if you're on the edge, just give in and put in the extra cash, it's totally worth it. And in return, whilst you can't logically explain why you need any of these features on the list, enough to spend twice the amount versus the Series 8, you should instead think of it as a watch that you like and that adds personality and character to your daily look, makes it easy to use with a longer battery life, a bigger screen, beautiful watch faces like the Wayfinder, and if you take good care of it for a few years, it'll probably last a lot more than any other Apple Watch, and suddenly your purchase will start to make a lot more sense. If you like this video, check out my other video on the insane new Apple VR headset called the Vision Pro, which is completely going to change the way we use technology, and do hit the subscribe button to keep getting useful reviews like this. See you on the next one.